So welcome to The Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder. And today I have a special guest and a friend coming on from Tampa, Florida. His goal to help people make appropriate financial decisions throughout life. He's a financial advisor, former high school coach, and fourth generation Floridian. He's always looking for ways to help people grow. He's a true believer in the fact that real advice comes from listening and asking questions instead of telling people what they should do. Cason Parker, welcome to The Real Build, man. Glad we can make this work out. Happy to have you on. How you doing today?
I'm stoked, man. I've been admiring from afar since like 15 years ago when I couldn't convince you to join my fraternity. At least this is like a little semblance of me making up for that by
There we
getting
go.
to share some airwaves with you.
Yeah, no, man, I'm glad you came on. I'm glad you reached out too, and we can make this work because it's been a while. This is going to be a good way to catch up and also talk some shop with you. You're in the financial business, so that is a huge part. I haven't really had anybody, believe it or not, I've had a lot of, people in mortgages, insurance, banks, so on. But as far as talking finance and how people should handle their money, especially with real estate transactions and so on. We're going to get a little bit into that today too. What I always like to get started with, obviously, is your background. So who is Cason Parker?
Huge. Well, as you can see, repping Tampa Bay these days. I'm originally from kind of a small beach town like Marco called Ormond Beach over on the east coast of Florida. It's the birthplace of speed being NASCAR, not the other type of speed. Moved to Tampa where we met going to USF, ended up staying and starting my career there, falling in love with a woman who's from here and staying here. I enjoy hopping on planes and boats for fun and for work every now and then, and human interaction and just like observing people, whether it's like people watching at the mall or just like observing like relationships, right? It's just that's kind of one of my things. It's probably super weird, but it is what it is, right? So that's a little bit about me and my shtick, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, a few things there. Obviously, me and you went to college together. Great times, by the way. Those were great times in the past. Miss those days. Now we're obviously on the work grind. So, and like you said, the human interaction, getting to know people, following, like just seeing people and how they interact. It's important, man. It's important for what you do in the financial world and business. It's important to see how people are. I have to deal with it on my end, obviously dealing with people every single day in the building world. I deal with different personalities. I've learned that. I've learned personalities. Obviously, having a sales background has helped because you have to
Yep.
deal with different personalities in different ways. So, you're doing a lot of big things. You got into the financial business. So why the financial business? You got into it right away out of college. Why'd you choose that out of everything?
Yeah, man. So we graduated college at a great time, right? Just housing bubble explosion. All of us are like left with like, oh, well, what do I do now? So at the time, I was working for like a car rental company at Tampa Airport. I kind of like hit a hard ceiling there, unless I wanted to like buy into a franchise at 22 years old, which just wasn't there. So I ended up getting in the financial biz. If I'm being honest, I got in it to make money. I I figured out like literally less than a month in that was like I had like a gut check, like, hey man, they don't just print paychecks. Like you got to go hustle and make it. And I guess my why, I found after that, um, I didn't like going to multiple houses for holidays and birthdays as a kid. I didn't like observing families break up. I didn't like watching businesses close. Those were some things that like happened to either my family or to people really close to me growing up. And some of it, maybe not all of it, but some of it was financial related. I think people either didn't have a plan, or they didn't think that far enough in the future. And now, I'm super fortunate to be able to have like a small front row seat to the lives of clients to, say, hey, shouldn't we consider this? Or, hey, have you thought about doing this in addition to what you're doing? And so that was like that gut check moment for me, where it's like, you can make money, but like, you got to have a heart for this. Like, you got to have a heart for people and serve them first. And if you can do that, then you will be successful, as opposed to trying to succeed and make money yourself first and then like go help some people later. You got to put people first. And that was like my kind of coming to reality type moment.
I love what you said there, though. Serve people first, because not a lot of people have that mindset. They don't, a lot of people go into business, like you said, you originally did, and we all have done this because the money's good and so on. I've been in situations in sales environments, so on, where that's what I thought. I'm like, I'm going to make so much money, this and that. But when you turn that switch, and you
Funny how that works out, right?
Yeah. And it, to an extent, it might work out a little bit, but when you turn that switch to, okay, I'm doing this to help people, I'm not doing this to it's not just about the money. Obviously the money comes with helping people. And I've said that repeatedly on this podcast too. That's why I'm doing this podcast. I don't ask for anything with this podcast. I don't even advertise. I don't have to be doing this. I don't have, this is time out of my day, and I'm very busy, and especially if anybody knows the construction going on in Florida right now. It's crazy. So
yeah, you're missing out on like $5,000 in this hour right now. If I had to calculate your time,
it's just it's time that I'm taking, because I do have a passion to help people. Though it's just like you said, it's taking the time to help people, show them what to look for in my industry as much as I possibly can. This platform was a great way for me to do it. And, obviously it's grown since I started, 95 episodes in now, which is crazy.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
That's friggin' staying power. I saw you did like the 75 hard too. I was like, this guy's turned into a machine. I'm going to be like talking to a T1000 robot instead of Bill Ryman when I call in.
That's what actually,
Super proud of you, bro.
I appreciate it, man. It's a lot. That's actually what my girlfriend just said too. She's like, not everybody's a machine like you or whatever. And I'm like, no, it's just, it's a mindset thing too. It's like me and you talked about, though, when I'm doing something, I want to go all in on it. It's just how my mind is. And I don't like to fail. I don't like to, I could easily say to this, with this podcast, I've done enough. I don't need to continue to do it. On the other side, here's me thinking about starting a second one with a friend of mine.
Because why not?
And, and I was talking to him the other day, and I was like, maybe I should just take a little time to start this one with you, because we're both busy. He's in the construction environment too. But, it's all what you dedicate your time to. But back to what we were saying, it's all about the customer too. It's all, the more I can help people, through my content and so on, the more it's going to return back to me in the long run too, with doing all this. You may not get 50 million likes. And I tell guys that all the time. People ask me, how do you do so much content, this and that, or are you seeing any effects from it? Yes, I've sold property from it. Yes, I've built houses from it. Is there going to be more in the future? Yes. Am I getting a lot of likes? I don't know. And videos, it's all about views. And you see, I don't get a lot of thumbs up, but I get a lot of people that say, I saw your video. And I'm like, well, why didn't you hit the like button? But they're like, yeah, I saw your video, man. You're doing it was awesome. Man. Yeah, it's like your video was awesome on this, and this. I'm like, yeah, you didn't like it though. But anyway, I guess that comes with it. But it's going back to what you said, man. I'm rambling here. It's just all about helping people. So I can appreciate that big time.
Yeah,
so, for sure. Let's talk about what you're doing a little bit here. You're coaching people, mentoring, you're doing insurance also. I think you're doing a lot of different things from what I read in your bio and we've talked about. So just kind of refresh what you're doing and let's talk about that.
Yeah, man. So I feel like, everybody's like, they're like, yeah, everybody needs like an elevator pitch. Like, how do you describe what you do in one sentence? So like, I just tell people, depending on how engaged in a conversation I am, I either say I'm just a peddler, or for people where I'm like, engaged with them, I'll be like, I just make sure people don't run out of money. And you know, so you're close with what you described, coaching people, being like a one-stop shop. I love how like you've built your company where you can help them buy and sell the building, buy and sell the land, buy and sell like actually building the house. So you're like, suit to nuts, as they say. I've tried to do that from a financial perspective because, as you might know, the moment where you don't control the relationship and they go get a mortgage somewhere else, and now that mortgage person's chirping about some other real estate agent, or they go get their homeowner insurance somewhere else, and now that homeowner agent's chirping about something else. I think what I try and do, whether it's insurance, whether it's investments, whether it's estate planning, whether it is retirement, tax, whatever that looks like for my client, whatever season of life they're in, from like starting a business and a career to retirement and beyond. Um, the investments in the insurance, that's just to avoid the obstacles and to chase after the opportunities, right? But for me, this summer I'll complete about 2 years worth of coursework to become what's called a certified financial planner. Only like 1 out of 10 financial advisors is a CFP. So that's not like something that I do to brag. It's more so something that I can do to show people like, hey, I'm not just this, I'm not just that, I'm not looking out for you for just this or just that. Like, I can kind of call in the troops, whether you're buying a business, selling a business, starting your career and starting a family, um, adding things into your portfolio, divesting out of stuff, or ultimately, as we become successful, we start thinking about what we're going to leave behind, like our legacy, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of like I guess like A to Z of what I do, how I do it, and some of like the widgets that help me get, client to client outcomes.
And I mean, that's great what you're doing too, especially since, I mean, the one-stop shop formula of it too, to where you kind of keep them in line on what exactly they need to do. You're not just financial planning, you're actually helping them in a bunch of different aspects of their life too. And that's so important as far as, just advancing more and more as far as your financials and so on. And there's not a lot of that out there, so I could appreciate that too, because I'm similar, like you said. It's just you try and figure out how you can do everything for the customer with the little time you have. So and that's the thing I always say too, if I could clone myself, I'd love to, have 15 billies running around here. But it's just it'd be amazing. But then it's just you have to kind of figure out how to spread those same values out within your business to your
Yeah.
employees, to also have that same appreciation and respect for your business, as you do. So are you doing that? Are you expanding? Do you have employees under you yet? Are you handling all this? How are you handling all this?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and I love the question. It's interesting that you say that because I think part of a leader, of like an entrepreneur, is to drive down vision into their own company.
Hmm.
I've personally found that it is important for you to drive vision and conviction, or whatever you want, ethos, whatever you want to call it, like whatever you are and you believe in, you can drive that out into your prospect or your client. And it's odd, but then you attract those type of people instead of like the trash collector people who are like, Bill, can you do this? Bill, can you do that? Bill, well, this is like a little
Yeah.
bit off of what it's supposed to be. Like, I remember smashing my head against the wall proverbially early on in my career. I'm like, man, these people suck. I don't even want to help them. But now, I'm like, I'm jacked to get up in the morning because I'm about to talk to Bill, and he's got a business that's like insane right now, and we're about to like make some moves to help him do even better, as an example, right? So that's one thing, not to get off track, but am I growing? Yes. So what I've done, there's a couple different ways I could grow. like I could recruit other advisors to like be part of like a team. And I could become like more of a management role and like be hands off with clients. That could be one avenue. Another avenue is like I could be the guy and I could hire staff to do paperwork, scheduling, calendaring, marketing, etc. What I've done, I've connected with three other advisors, one in Boston, one in Mobile, Alabama, and one in Gainesville, Florida. And the four of us, like each of us have different specialty and different roles. And so we'll like tag team different clients. So my practice is all over the United States, all 50 states. So we're geographic to like the Southeast and the Northeast, you know, that might expand, who knows. But having those guys, like, you know, some of them sharpen me, I sharpen some of them. I have that going. Then within my office in Tampa, I have a support staff of like 3 to 4 people who handle processing, underwriting, compliance, all those various other parts. And then this year, the goal is to hire first full-time like staff who would work like directly for me, would be like my executive assistant. So that is coming here shortly. Need to add recruiter into the other list of things that I'm doing so I can find an assistant to take a few things off my plate. So yeah.
Man of many hats. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good for you too. So let's get into what you're doing. Obviously, you know, your financial advice, you're a financial strategist. So how can we, obviously this show is about real estate
Yeah.
and construction and building. You know, it's all about showing clients what to look for in those industries as much as possible. Also helping, you know, this show also with, now you have a lot of realtors and builders that listen as well, helps them,
Yeah.
you know, because obviously you help the client, you know, your business grows. The client's your number one thing because that's what brings in the money. So that's
Yeah.
what the show's all about, is helping them. So on the finance end too, so let's talk about some strategies with real estate for
Yeah.
clients. You know, what
Oh
things
yeah.
can they do and so on.
So let me like bust a myth first before I answer this
Okay.
question. So the first thing I've heard people like, oh, you're in finance, so you're probably, you know, going to tell people like they shouldn't be in real estate, or you're probably going to tell me like I could do better in the market. And I'm like, no, it's not either or, it's both and, right? Especially if somebody has a knack or a natural ability or a network or a connection or an inheritance or however they know so much of what they know, you shouldn't get away from that. And I'm not trying to convince somebody to, you know, move into the market and move away from something that they are incredibly talented at. So that's first thing. And if people are trying to convince people to do that, then shame on them, in my opinion. So that's first. So what do I do that goes like in line with my clients who are working in real estate, investing in real estate, or both? So one thing is determining the appropriate lending or leverage capacity or the different vehicles to use, whether it's on a residential side or a commercial side. As you probably well know, there's different loan products, right? There's different advantages to go in cash on some transactions. Sometimes you can take like an investment account and put a line of credit against it to get into properties, right? That's a thing. Once property is acquired, there's some tax strategy from how you depreciate assets. So I think that can be huge for people, especially if they're climbing in a tax bracket. You know, how do you take this new piece of property, commercial or what have you, or how do you take this new equipment that you acquired and depreciate that and like get its useful life out of it and get a tax break? Again, how do you leverage, you know, one thing for another? I don't know if it was you, Bill, or somebody else was talking about like how 1031 exchanges might be on the chopping block of Congress, right?
Mhm.
So just being, you know, acutely aware of that. One thing that we do a ton of work in is advising clients on the appropriate titling of their real estate assets. I can't tell you how many times, you know, people like own something individually or, you know, where they could own it jointly and have some creditor protection depending on what state that they're in. people not moving certain assets into entities to avoid lawsuits. That's something we do a heck of a lot of that I think people just miss the boat on. Another thing that I don't think a lot of people think of is what we call estate equalization. So let's say that you had a client, they own a business, they own a mountain of real estate, and they own some investments. And let's just say, for simple example, they have 3 kids. One kid loves real estate and hates the business. One kid loves the business, doesn't know jack about anything else. And then one kid is just like a wizard and becomes like a surgeon, right? So if you want to be fair, how do you split that up? Right? Especially if the real estate's appreciating like a mo, or especially if the business is just a cash cow, right? How do you position those assets to leave them behind? Or, not to be a pessimist, but like, how do you equalize your estate if you go through a divorce, right? So a lot of different considerations like that is how I'll come alongside. I'm not here to replace the investment or the real estate advice or the real estate holdings. It's more of how do we complement it and how do we build a moat around said castles, right? So those are a couple of the things that we do to complement, a financial strategy and a real estate strategy together.
Well, there's so much that you just said there. I mean, we can probably go an hour on everything you said. So if anybody has questions, they definitely should be reaching out to you. But I mean, there's so much different avenues in real estate too.
Tons.
And that's the tricky part. And not a lot of people understand how it works. Like, an accountant's not really gonna go if you got 100 properties. Having a financial advisor is probably a key asset to have within, because you're going to know a little bit more than what the accountant's going to know, because the accountant's going to save on the tax end. Obviously you're going to help do that too, but you're also going to help save on the financial end and stop stupid mistakes from happening. Correct?
I mean, what do they say? You can't fix stupid, but but we can try. I tell people, I say financial advising is the intersection of math and psychology, right? So psychology is going to make the final decision, but it's my role to provide math, objectivity, and evidence so that people can make a smarter decision than they would if left to their own devices or researching on the internet, right?
Oh, well, yeah. Researching on the internet's a never-ending black hole. So
that's like the cause of stress and anxiety right there, is trying to figure out your life on the internet, right?
Yeah, I
Let
wouldn't.
alone your business and your money.
I'd highly not recommend doing that by any means too. I mean, a question that I have for you too is, when should somebody plan on getting a financial advisor? Like, there's people that are out there, and this probably is, believe it or not, it might seem like a stupid question, but it's probably a common thought to people. It's like, okay, I'm starting to make money. I'm running a business. I own real estate. I have some stocks in the stock market. I have some other assets. Cryptocurrency's crazy now. I have sports cards, which is an asset, physical asset now. And it's just, when do you go and ask for finance or hire a financial advisor? People worry about costs. What are they paying a financial advisor for this advice? Let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I think to answer that question, like I can't speak to like how other advisors work. I can speak to what I do. So I'll say like how I operate. So I'm compensated in 3 ways: fees for financial advice, fees for professional investment advice, and then insurance brokerage. So insurance brokerage, that's kind of easy. That's like disability insurance, life insurance, long-term care, insurance products. You don't pay extra. I recommend you to a company. That company pays me a fee, right? Gotcha. Then there's investment advice. So professional investment advice, like I'm managing a retirement account, I'm managing the 401k for your company. You have a Roth IRA, something like that. I charge a professional fee to give you, oversight and professional management on that from a fiduciary standpoint. Or a fee for financial advice. So financial advice is maybe for that person who, I got it, man. I just need like a check, or I just need like somebody to like give me a thought, right? That really depends on the scope of the work, to be honest, right? Because somebody could be like, hey, I just started a business. I peeled off out of my company and now I'm starting a business. I'm starting a family. I got some properties. I got some of this. I got some of that. How do I make this efficient? Right. So for that person, that's kind of like narrow scope. Right. So we're not doing a ton of work for that person. That's kind of like, the basics. That's like, pouring cornerstones and foundation. But then somebody might come to us. They have a multi-million-dollar business with employees. They're on a second marriage with kids with both. They have assets. They have real estate, commercial, residential. They have some estate planning to do. That's a lot wider scope, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that type of person, that fee is probably going to be a lot more. And that's something where, I have initial consults with clients to determine the scope. Those consults are free because like we're trying to figure out if we like each other, and I'm trying to figure out how much work I'm going to have to do and then articulate back to the client how much value I can provide, right? And then based on that, that's how that would look. So to answer your question of like, when should someone have a financial advisor? I think that's a very personal, subjective choice, but I think it's when you get to that point where you're like, man, I probably need a second opinion from somebody not my family or not my best buddy who knows jack about money. It's like, hey, I need someone who studies this and does this, like eats, sleeps, and breathes this like the whole week long or their whole career, so that like I can have a level of objectivity based on my emotional decisions that I'm making for my business, my family, et cetera. So that's kind of like a vague answer, but I think it's more of like a feeling when you like, it's almost like you have a bunch of like jet engines underneath you and you're like, this thing's about to explode if I don't like make it go. So it's like right before launch, maybe, would be a good spot. But, from an asset perspective, I have clients who will start with me, 25, 50K, and then I have clients all the way up to like, how can't count 8 figures, right? I'm not past that yet, but like that level of net worth, right? So it's kind of a wide range. So I tell people too, man, I'm not above or below, giving anybody, 30 minutes of my time to be like, hey, Bill, do this, clean that up. You might want to retitle that right there so you don't get your ass sued. And that might be it for somebody. Somebody else might be like, damn, man, like, okay, well, like I can help you do that. You're running this business. I don't think you have time to do that. You actually can't get that from the internet. Someone has to sell it to you. So I could be that guy, right? So there's like a handful of different things where sometimes people come to me for like a product initially. And because they're like maybe as an example, so like you're about to buy, maybe you're about to buy like a commercial building.
Mm-hmm.
And the bank is saying, hey, Mr. Ryman, we're requiring that you have life insurance to collateralize your loan. And you're like, well, shit, I never got life insurance before. Why the hell did I need that? And now the bank's like, we're sorry, Mr. Ryman, we can't close your loan until you like write us in on your life insurance policy. And you're like, well, shit, Cason, how long is this going to take? I don't know, Bill, I could probably get it done in like maybe 2 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. And so now like we have that relationship, you're a client, and then like you build up that building, you sell it, you have a liquidity event for like $7 million. Now you come back to me, it might be 5 or 10 years later, and you're like, yo, Cason, like, tell me a little bit now. Now I can like sit down and listen to you more, right? So I think people like me, we need to be available, right?
No, yeah.
But obviously, like, one of the big mistakes that I made early in my career is I was like, you need financial plans, you need financial strategy, you need financial advice. And a lot of people are like, yeah, dude, like I agree, but like your boy doesn't have time for all that right now. I need you to take care of my 401k for me, all right? I need you to get me some life insurance. Like that's all I need you to set up the 401k for my employees so they'll stop bitching at me. Like, that's all I got for you right now, but stay with me and we'll make it work out, So roundabout answer to your short question.
No, I like that because you're not being forceful either. You're letting and as entrepreneurs too, and busy people and people buying real estate and families and so on too, they don't, and that's just how I am too. I don't like somebody breathing down my back, you know, like when I'm ready, I'm ready. You know, it's no different than going into a car dealership. Let's put it this way: a car salesman leeches on you. Most people don't like that, you know. It's
Yeah,
just they like,
yeah,
and when I go to a car dealership, I kind of like do my own thing, look around. If I want to see the car, give me the key. I'll open it up. I'll test drive it myself. You don't need to be next to me showing me how the radio works. You know, if I like the car, I'll take it off the damn lot. You know what I mean? So,
and your
and that's
gladiator is sick, so like obviously you do well at that.
yeah, no, I mean, I used to work in the car business too, so I just don't. And I was never, you know, I'm not a pushy salesman. I know how to sell. I know how to talk to people and deal with people and read, kind of get a feeling of how they are. If they're standoffish, you know, I'll stand off a little bit. If you know the wife's making the call, I'm gonna go, you know, tell the wife what's going on with the house, or the, you know. So it's just, you learn these things too. But as back to what you were saying, it's in every business. I mean, some people are okay with the pushy salesman. Some people are just like to be left alone and kind of do it as they go, and they'll go to you when they need you, and that's why they're hiring you too. I deal with it in building. I got people that really need their hand held, and I got people that just are like, let me know what's going on. You know,
Yeah,
that's, you know, we trust you, this and that. It's just, you got different aspects of people. But what you said too, though, I can respect that, because you're not on top of people. You started out that way, but now you learn that, okay, if I'm going to be a good financial advisor, yeah, if I'm going to be good at this, I need to just sit back and listen. That's the thing, and
yeah.
let the people do the talking, and I'll provide what they need.
Well, I love what you said too. You got to figure. So when you're working with a business, it's easy to figure out who the CFO is because that's their title. When
Mm-hmm.
you're working with a husband and wife or a family, people like we have to figure out who the CFO is,
Yeah,
right? Because you could
yeah.
be talking to the wrong person, and they're like, "I got to talk to my husband. I got to talk to my
Mhm.
wife. I got to talk to my father. I got to talk to my brother." Like
Yeah.
that is an art form. I feel like, you're mastering that of like, you got to figure out who the CFO is because you might be just barking up the complete wrong tree and,
I've
and
had it
then like the
happen.
deal gets squashed because like you
Yeah.
didn't know what you're doing.
I've had it happen. I mean, not to get into, I mean, this is podcasts all over the board as far as you're getting in sales now, but it's just,
Yeah.
it's cool with me because I mean, as long as we're helping people, that's fine. And like I said, I've had it happen to where, you know, and this is what you learn from too. I mean, I had it to where, you know, I had to basically, I was talking to the husband, and I thought, you know, that was the way to go. I followed the husband around. The wife went a different direction with her friend. Long story short, I didn't pay enough attention to the wife. She didn't like me, and then that blew the
She
deal.
was the CFO.
Yes. So it's important to figure out, okay, you know, obviously you talk to both parties, but you
Yep.
have to figure out who's going to make the overall decision. And that's sales 101 too.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, it's in every business environment, and no matter what, you have to listen. And that's the long story short of this is you have to listen to the customer, listen to what their wants and needs are, and then deliver on it. That's what I've learned more than anything too, because it
Yep.
goes a long way in every single business. So
For
that's the
sure.
thing. Let's get back into it a little bit here as far as your financial advice. How let's talk about how a financial advisor can help you determine whether, you know, back into the real estate topic, real estate's a
Yeah.
good investment or a viable option for you.
Yeah. So I love this question. So a couple thoughts on this. I think that people from like, let's say 25 to 50, maybe I'm undershooting, overshooting, who knows, but we'll roll with it. People like that are given generic advice, whether on the internet or from someone in my profession, that you're young and you can take a lot of risk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, kind of, right? But what are we talking about? Are we talking about a stock portfolio? Are we talking about your own business? Are we talking about your real estate? Are we talking about all three? Right? And so maybe I'm 33, my wife doesn't work, and we have twins. Should I be taking a ton of risk?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, maybe not, right? Or maybe I'm 33, I'm single, I have a trust fund. Can I take a lot of risk? I could probably stand to like do that, right? So I think regardless of where someone's at, a lot of times we encounter business owners where they own the real estate of their business as well as other real estate. So what I want to educate those types of people on is like, okay, I'm here for your real estate. You've done well with that. I'm here for your business. That's your cash cow. Um, so maybe with your portfolio, maybe we should have a lot of bonds over there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should have something conservative in your like stock portfolio instead of going balls to the wall over here, even when the market's been crushing it. Because like if you're working out, right, you got your real estate and your business, that's relatively high risk, right? If we're just talking objectively.
Yeah.
And now you got your stock portfolio that's balls to the wall too. It's March of 2020 and boom, your portfolio is down 35%. Your banker's saying, hey, like credit's a little tight right now until we figure out this whole virus thing. You know, your employees are freaking out. You know, maybe you're in a business where your employees are getting the stimulus checks and they're not coming in anymore. There's a lot of different things. So like when I talk about risk with a client, like that's what I want to zoom them out on, not to discourage anything, especially real estate and business if it's done well for them, but to just let them know that like Cason might not be recommending like the best stocks. It might be like the best bonds,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that would be one thing, like an overall risk. A big thing for me to like to be a one-stop shop is to know people like you, is to know the experts and to know my limitations and not try and advise people with stuff that I don't know a damn thing about.
Yeah.
But say, hey, I know this guy Bill who freaking knock your socks off if you're trying to figure out whether you should buy in this, or you should build your house with this, or use this or this, right? Or whether it's my, you know, my physician clients, if they like need malpractice, or if it's like my older clients who need to talk to an estate planning attorney, or if it's somebody who needs a better CPA than what they've been using. Like knowing those experts is huge, especially in the real estate game, because like, you know, as far as deal flow goes, from my perspective, you correct me if I'm wrong on this, some real estate agents, some brokers, some brokerages, some builders have juice and some don't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many weekend warriors in both of our businesses, right? Where, you know, it might be their cousin and, you know, they convince them to like go with them. And you're like, oh my God, like, are you a moron? Like you are just missing the boat on like half of this transaction right now. So I think like pointing people in the right direction to the right experts is huge, especially in Florida real estate,
Oh
because
yeah.
there's so many things that could go off the rails there. Again, to come back to like contracts and titling, one thing that I see a lot with commercial real estate is commercial loans have what are called call provisions. So call provisions is when the bank can call in the loan, right? So, you know, you become disabled, they can call the loan. You get divorced, they can call the loan. Your business has to go through restructuring, bankruptcy. You know, you get a DUI and it turns into not a friendly thing. Loan gets called. Like those are things, owning the real estate appropriately. Once again, you know, whether it's with business partners, spouses, family or not, a lot of times, I'm sure you could probably back me up on this. How many times do family or friends get into deals together and stuff goes south when you mix family, friends, and money? And then another thing is this whole concept of like owner occupied real estate, right? So I don't know, from what I, you know, follow with you, most of your stuff is residential. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to pigeonhole you, but like if there's like duplexes or quadplexes, you know, whether that's a residential space or whether that is like a commercial space, you know, knowing how you can leverage that with different lending options or with different like tax strategy there, I think that is some of the ways of how we look at viability on that. Yeah.
No, I'm big on what you said about having the right connections too, because just like yourself, I'm not a know-it-all in a lot of different fields too. I know how to sell real estate. I know real estate. I know construction. Those are my, go-tos. I can service somebody as far as the transaction on the real estate end, get through the inspections, all that, help that a lot easier because of my construction background. But after that, when it comes to closing, I have a guy. It goes to that guy. You got questions, you call my guy.
Got a gal.
And that's the thing, is I don't try and answer the questions that I don't know. Now, a lot of, like you said, there's, let's put it this way, especially now, everybody's getting a real estate license. Everybody's,
that drives you nuts.
oh yeah, there's so many realtors now. It's just insane. And yeah, well, this is the first time in a long time there's actually more realtors out in the country. This is the whole entire country. There's actually more realtors than there are listed properties. Think about that. It's insane. And 40% of those realtors are not making one transaction in one of the hottest markets there has been in a long time. 40%. So that just shows
You're
you
getting those stimulus checks, brother.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it just shows you how many people are going and getting a license, no clue what they're doing, and they just think it's going to be a quick buck. And I've preached about this multiple times. No offense to new realtors. If you're grinding, I appreciate you. Keep up the work.
Start somewhere.
Yeah, and you got to start somewhere. It takes a lot of work, and but for those who just think it's going to be quick money, you're going to find out real quick it's not an easy job. And those people that think it's going to be quick money too, they do make a sale, then the transaction falls apart because there are a lot of steps after the fact in holding your client's hand. And you know this as well too, and you have to have those pieces in place to help guide that closing. To have the right inspector connection, have the right financial connections, have the right closing attorneys, and which after 10 years I have that. And on the building end, it's the same way. Have the right subcontractors that are going to build that quality product the way you want it. But I love what you said there too. Let's get into, like, how can you help someone figure out, which type of investment property, would be best for them? Let's go into that as far as the real estate end, given their budget and goals.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that I talk to like younger people about, where maybe they're like getting into their first house, is $500 worth of rent equals about $100,000 of a home. Right. And correct me if I'm wrong on that. And I'm not including HOA and condo fees and stuff like that. But as a rule of thumb right now, every $500 of rent can buy you $100,000 of a home. So depending on where you live in the United States, you got to do some quick math. What am I paying for rent versus, how much house would that buy me? Right.
Makes sense, minus insurance, so on.
Yeah.
Your insurance and your mortgage. But yeah, you're probably about right.
Yeah, and so on that, I think that's one of the ways. Knowing about unique lending options. So like there are specific mortgages for doctors. There was a credit union based in Tampa that was offering specific mortgages for first responders and teachers. For people who are older than 62, there's specific mortgage options. So as you're buying your retirement condo or your ski home, in the mountains, like knowing like what lending options you can use, to your point about investment properties. A lot of times people are thinking, either or, right? Do I have my investments? Do I buy the real estate? Well, you can do both, right? So there are some investment firms where they let you take out lines of credit that are collateralized or backed by your portfolio, right? So you can buy your lake house, you can buy those investment properties, you can buy that retirement home in Florida if you're moving from New Jersey, right? And correct me if I'm wrong on this, now you're a cash buyer, right? You buy the house in cash with your line of credit against your investment account. Now you're in the home. A handful of contingencies might have been waived, right? Smoother transaction. Now you refi, cash out, and have the mortgage on the house and pay off the line of credit on the investments. And now you have a mortgage at what, like 2 something, or maybe 5 something if it's commercial, maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are a couple things, like, on a first time home buyer thought, or like, investment properties going into retirement, like across the board. Those are a handful of things where I talk through, and I'm pretty methodical about that. Um, if I'm talking to an older client, have a family friend right now who's thinking about selling a house in another state, moving down here. I was talking to him about some of his lending options, because he's like, I need my investments to live on, man. I can't like pay cash, but I feel like I need to pay cash because like it's such a hot market for real estate. But like from your perspective, like if I'm a cash buyer versus a mortgage buyer, I'm I probably got a better shot, maybe, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
So, those are a handful of things I would say.
Yeah. And that's good to know too. And especially with experience, because if you are, especially in a hot market, cash is king. People don't want to wait what is it, 45 days or something for a mortgage to close
Yeah.
out. So it's like with cash, you can close the transaction in 2 weeks. And that's the thing. It's quick, easy transaction. In a market like this, there's not so much pushback on inspection and so on, even though if you have a good agent that can help you with those inspections, hint hint, the one that's talking, which I just did with a client too. It goes a long way to kind of guide both sides through the process. But yeah, what you said is huge there, big time too. I want to keep moving here, obviously, because of time. One thing that always stood out to me too, on your social post, right? You do your giving project and your giving plan, I should say, generosity giving. Let's talk about this too, because I've asked you about this. You always post about it. So what is your giving plan? You talk about it. Anybody that knows, you should follow Cason on his social media. He'll give that at the end and you'll see what he's doing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. So I started this, I'll call it a social experiment 5 years ago. Um, 5 years ago, I was just in a completely different place, mentally, physically, spiritually, professionally, like you name it, I was in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
We all were.
so, yeah, preach, bro. So every Monday, I've probably missed maybe a dozen over the 5 year period, um, including holidays. So every Monday from 7 to 8:30, I would set up at a local coffee shop,
Mm.
and people could call me, text me, stop in, and they could just chat. What I found was that most people, they didn't want or need advice. They already kind of had it up here and they needed to talk it out, or they just needed somebody to listen to what they were going through, them, their business, their family, etc. And like that completely changed my life, bro. Um, there's like a Matthew McConaughey speech where he's like, I'm chasing after the me in the future and I'm running from me in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the giving plan was similar to that, because I heard these stories of people that inspired me that I need to get my hustle on some more. And then I also like heard like stories that have like literally broke my heart, of friends, family, etc., where I'm like, damn, like thank God that like I'm past that, or thank God that like I'm not having to go through that. Um, and yeah, so that was just like, it was something. I was just frankly frustrated because I was like banging my head against the wall trying to like make it stick with my business. And I was like, I'm just going to give it all up. I'm going to give it all up and just put myself out there. And I would say probably like 90% of the time, nobody shows up or nobody calls me. However, what I would tell you is that throughout the week, or at a wedding, or on a podcast tonight, like, people are like, yo, tell me about that. And I'll tell them. And then like, man, you got to hear this. And then
Mm.
dot, dot, dot. And so it's just been incredible, man. It's changed my life. I hope that I can continue to do that indefinitely. I actually just started doing it again in person. For the last year, I've been doing just like on the phone. Um, but I just the beginning of May started doing it in person again. It's at for those people who are in or around Tampa, I do it at Kawa Coffee on Henderson Boulevard, right off of Neptune, 7 to 8:30 on Monday mornings. So come if you want, call if you want, whatever whatever you got. If you're trying to like sell me some hand cream, or if you're trying to like talk to me about your life, whatever you want.
You're gonna have a line out the door waiting for you
No,
now.
God, I hope not, man. That's like my quiet time, I'm just like getting in the zone for the week. It's actually really calming and kind of like centers me too. But if people show up, they show up and we go, we're like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, I remember seeing you write that, and I was like, "What is he doing? What's he talking about? Is he high or something, or what's he?" I was like,
Man,
"What
I've
is?
been called worse by less, brother.
What's that?"
I've been called worse by less. Or they said worse than that about me, but
No, then I asked you. I remember I asked you. I was like, "What are you doing?" Because I just always wondered, and because after reading and not really understanding what you were doing and figuring it out, man, it's huge. It's amazing,
I appreciate that.
and it is amazing. Just like getting to know people, but listening too. Like we talked about earlier, it's like people just want to be heard, and you're
The
taking the
gifts, man, the
yeah.
gifts that we have.
Yeah, and you're taking the time to do that, even if it's a random person. You're sitting there listening. You're somebody to talk to, and I mean, by you doing that, it goes so far with so many people. So I got a mad respect for you by doing that too. I
Appreciate that.
personally should be doing that more, and there's times, obviously, that I've had people, I've said, reach out to me, talk to me too. If you need help with anything, I'm still willing to do that. It's just we all complain about our time and not having time to do something, but we can make time. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Like, we made time to do this tonight. We're doing this at 8:30 on a Thursday night. So it's you can make the time, figure it out, and you're taking your Monday mornings and just hearing people, you're probably hearing some amazing stories, like you said. I can only imagine.
yeah.
So
Yes. You know what's funny? They say like money can't buy happiness, right? We all agree with that. Um, Money can buy you time.
yeah.
You can hire somebody to mow your grass so you have an extra hour, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, money, and people say money can buy you happiness. I mean, it will buy you time, which gives you happiness, and obviously money. The more money you have, the more things you can have and provide, and so on, too. And it's not everything, but by you listening to people, that goes such a far way too. And people just want to be heard, man. That's the thing.
yeah,
And a lot of the times they
preach.
aren't, So I have mad respect for that too. And one thing you said too, we're getting towards the end here, is you something about a niche marketing plan. Let's talk about that. How to create one.
Yeah.
Just brush on that a little bit.
Yeah. So like I mean I look at you, right? And like you're like, you know, the Marco guy
Hmm.
or the Naples guy, whatever. I mean, I'm not super familiar with that area, but like it would appear based on your marketing plan that you have Marco Island and Naples canvassed. And if there's a waterfront property, you're going to get your hands on it and you're going to build a fortress for somebody who wants one, right? And that's a tribute to you and the marketing that you push out through podcasts, social, whatever you're putting out there. So for me, I didn't have a niche way back when, and I was dying on the vine. I was like, oh, I can help people with money. And they're like, I got money. I don't need help getting it. And then I listened to a podcast, and this gentleman who was on there, he talked about your marketing plan is like water faucets, right? So for me, a large niche market that I serve are healthcare providers. So physicians, dentists, things like that. Um, I started out and I had no clients like that. Like we're talking to our real estate friends who just got in the business and they are just going to grind it out. That was me. I had no clients.
Hmm.
But when they asked the James gang why'd they rob banks, you know why they rob banks?
Why?
That's where the money is.
Yeah, true.
So for me, I kind of like searched around, found this niche of healthcare providers. I fashioned my social media to that. I immersed myself in their world, learning about, the debt that they take on, learning about the exposure that they have to lawsuits, learning about, all things across the board, learning how to speak the language, right? And so I had that faucet, that marketing faucet turned on full bore. I had the other side of the faucet turned on because I still needed to pay my bills and I didn't have any of these types of clients yet. So your boy was out here hustling, trying to work with whoever I could that I needed to pay my bills and grow my business. But sure as you know what, now about 80% of my clients are in this niche market.
Mm.
And one of the guys who works with me, we were doing like a webinar, or not a webinar, like a Zoom meeting, and we ended, and he's like, "How do you know all that stuff?" I'm like, "Man, this is like, man, I'm like bathing in this, like I'm like head deep in all this." So I think, long story short, of like niche marketing, I think you got to determine what that niche is, whether it's like you being Marco or me serving healthcare providers or, whatever, like, I'm going to be a realtor and I'm going to serve like relocating military families or, whatever you come up with. So it's got to be profitable. Like you got to test it out, make sure it's profitable. Like I'm going to go out on a limb that like there's probably a little bit of dough in the 239, right? But similar on my side, I think you got to find something that's viable. You got to immerse yourself in it. You got to tell people that you do it.
Oh yeah.
Even if you don't like have all the clients yet, you'd be like, "Hey, I do it." And then it's just like rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, learn, immerse, rinse, repeat, learn, immerse, rinse, repeat. And that's obviously easier said than done. I'll be the first one to say that. But I think that would be something that as far as niche marketing, you got to find something that's profitable and viable. Then you got to immerse yourself in learning how to speak the language, and then just build it. But then you got to keep your other faucet on that's paying your bills before you can switch all in over here.
Mm-hmm. Highly agree. And the main thing you said there too, which I've always done, no matter what I'm in, I talked about my car sales pass too. Like I remember I literally immersed myself in the car business, learned every single little aspect about every car, and then I became the top salesman over time. It's no different than real estate too. People getting into real estate, half of them aren't learning. They don't know it. They say how big I talk about this and jokingly, but it's true. Unfortunately, is look how big this room is. They don't talk about how a product's built. I literally look at everything, every single little detail within the house. I can see structural issues, so on. That's the difference maker too, because I grew up in the construction business. Same with home building. A lot of people go with us on the home building side because I sell our quality. I point it out. I showcase it. I always am talking about it and what the way we do things. I'm not just saying we build custom homes. I'm saying we build the best custom home. That's the thing. And I'm showing them that too in every single video I'm doing also. So people
Heck
know
yeah,
what I
man.
do and how I do it, just like you said yourself too. You have to do that no matter what business you're in. And a lot of people are afraid to do that. A lot of people are afraid to get behind a camera or get on a microphone like tonight, or just talk about what they do. They just think
Yeah.
business is going to come to them, and it doesn't work that way. I mean, maybe you'll get lucky here and there. You'll get a couple people. They probably won't be the right fit. See, I talk about this too, is because a lot of the stuff you're doing and I'm doing as well is it not only brings good quality clientele to us that we mesh with because they're seeing our personalities, it eliminates the ones that we're not going to mesh with. So that's a big factor in it too, because we can't work with everybody. Unfortunately, that's the way this world works. That if we can get every piece of business, there is, that'd be awesome, and be Jeff Bezos of building, and everybody goes to, but see, not everybody uses
Divorced and
Amazon.
lose half of it.
Yeah, there you go. So it's just, no, 100% what you're saying, man, is spot on. So love that for sure. Getting towards the end here, let's go into, the last question on the financial side. What's the best financial advice you can give?
Yeah, this one's easy. Listen up, move to the edge of your seats. This is about to be a mic drop, everyone. Um, be more generous than you think you should be. Be more generous than you think people deserve. And bet on red. No, but a quick shout out to a business mentor of mine. His name's Harsh Kandawal. Owns a tech company, owns a property management company, owns a construction company, just started his own cryptocurrency. This guy's amazing. And, I appreciate the time that he's invested into me. And, give first and then ask, right? And then just be more generous than you think you should be. Be more generous than you think people deserve.
Yeah, we talked about that too. It's so spot on, man. It's a must in all aspects of life too, because the more you give, the more you receive. It's hands down, and some people don't realize that. I mean, they'd rather just receive. It's all me, me, me. But no, when you make it about others too, it makes a big, big difference in your life in all directions too. So yeah, love that for sure, man. Love that. Personal questions. I asked this. This is my favorite question. I've asked it. I wish I would have asked it since day one, but this one kind of came up a little later in the episodes, and been asking ever since. What about you personally? What lessons have you learned throughout your own journey that we should all apply to our own business or our own lives to help us grow?
Yeah. So, obviously books and podcasts, right? That's like our juice, right? Um, Find a partner in life that challenges what you shy away from. I have been incredibly blessed to find the love of my life. She pushes me to be more emotional. At a baseline not. I am so grateful for her to have brought that out in me. I love you, Ashley. And to explore your faith, whether you are religious or not. I think you would be surprised at who answers when you seek that, whether it's the universe, whether it's Jesus Christ, whether it's Allah, like whatever that looks like. Explore your faith, and I think you would be pleasantly surprised to see what happens to you, right? And then obviously, like we've talked about, just being a giver, just being rooted in generosity. And don't get me wrong, like I fall short of this daily,
Oh, yeah.
right? But I think like having an ethos about this, having like some core beliefs. Something I got to give a shout out to another guy. His name is Matt Worley. Um, we were grabbing lunch to like talk some business, and I was like going through something, like I'd had a discussion with Ashley about something, and he's like, you're just probably being selfish, man. And at first I was like offended, and I was like, man, what do you know? I'm not freaking being selfish. Like she's the one, she needs to like get her stuff together. And like I sat on that and I chewed on it for like 30 seconds and like didn't have a damn thing to say. And it was just like crushing me. And I was just like melting. I was like, damn, I need to like end this lunch right now, run home and like just beg for forgiveness, you know? And I think it's just times like that where we as men, it's really hard. Like, you're trained to be tough, you're trained to not show emotion. You're trained to, like, well, those people need to learn, or like, that woman needs to respect me, blah, blah, blah. No, that's BS, man. Like, we're all here in this, this earth together. I think that, you really got to find, whether it's your significant other, your business partner, et cetera, you got to find people to like pull things out of you that you can't pull out yourself. You have to really like search deep, because like we're all selfish, as you know what, we are all so selfish. And like when you can come to terms with the fact that you are, and then ask for forgiveness for those people that it's affected, like that was like a huge
Wow.
thing for me.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Great answer. I mean, wow. The relationship part of it, obviously, too, is so key. And I learned that, and I've talked about this on other people's podcasts, not so much my own, but finding that right person, having that right fit in your life does make a big difference. Obviously, me and you talked about this before the show. I went through a divorce, and now I'm with somebody that's polar opposite of who my ex was. I made the choice on getting that divorce because I just was in a position in my life where I wasn't myself, and I didn't see myself furthering and getting better and so on being with this person. I just got drugged down, and now I'm with somebody that picks me up every single day, is in my corner whenever I need her, and so on, and that makes a big difference too. But also what you said too is just, obviously helping people, caring about people, just opening up to people. There's so many different things you hit on right there that are so important to kind of living that great life of abundance, and obviously
Yeah.
religion, no matter what religion you are. Obviously I'm a Christian, so I go that as far as Christianity. I mean, I'm a big believer in helping others, and God returns favor to you and so on as well. So it's so many key points there, man. I love what you said for sure.
Yeah. Appreciate
So
it.
love that. Another question most people ask about your past. I want to hear about your future. So where will we see Cason Parker in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? Who will you be?
Yeah, man. Oh, I'm here for this one. So, I hope that I am still chasing Ashley around with the vigor that I did when I first met her. Um, I think that, that's first and foremost. I hope that zeal for life. I hope that love between us like just trickles through our family into our kids and into, other couples that we come across. Um, I hope that I'm a good dad. It's tough. You know, I was I was raised by two dads, fortunately. No, no, they wasn't like that. But I had my biological father, and then I was, so blessed to have a stepdad who loved me like his own. And I hope that I can be, half the man that he was for me, as well as the dad that my biological dad was for me. I hope that I can be coaching my kids' sports teams. Maybe not coaching, because I'd probably be the guys in those like YouTube videos. They're like making fun of all the kids on the team. So I'd probably do better being like the play-by-play announcer up in the booth. So I
That
want to
could
do
be
that.
worse, actually, if you're the play-by-play
Oh
announcer.
yeah,
Then you're
man.
on,
Oh,
yeah,
I
then you're on the
know. I gotta pick
loudspeaker
the
making fun
I
of the
gotta pick
kids.
the lesser of two evils there. And then so there's this thing called Alpha that I've become involved in over the last year and a half. And so whether you are a Christian, whether you are an atheist, whether you're an agnostic, or anywhere on the spectrum, Alpha is something where people of all those different backgrounds can come and have an objective conversation about faith and religion. And I love that. I think that's one of the biggest problems in our world right now, is everything is so like this. But something like Alpha is it's worldwide. It started in London, and now it's like all over the world. And I've become like a not a member, but like a host slash helper. I've become like a part of that, helping facilitate things like that in Tampa Bay. But we have people who like log in from all over the country for it. So I hope that I'm able to like grow through that and introduce more people to people who are different than them, and let them know that it's okay that you have different beliefs. You don't have to shade one another or hate one another. You can just say, Bill, like, you're a Christian. All right, man, that's cool. You're
Mhm.
like, all right, like you don't believe that there's anything. All right, I respect that. Like, let me tell you why I'm a Christian, or let me tell you why I'm an
Yeah.
atheist. And then like we can be cool about that instead of be like, oh man, you know, Bill's a Christian. He's such a hypocrite, man. I saw him getting drunk. Like Christians wouldn't do that. Or like, oh, you know, you're an atheist. That's why that bad stuff's happening to you. Like that stuff's, you know, BS, man. Like, why can't we just get along? And like, so alpha's a way to do that. That's something that I want to continue to be super passionate and involved in the rest of my life. Um, and then, Lord willing, I want to have a custom built fortress on the water built by yours truly.
I have no doubt that's going to happen, man, for sure. For sure. And what you said, man, yeah, that's true. If the world could, everybody can get along. As a Christian, I just, if you got different beliefs than me, that's fine. I don't try and press on you my beliefs versus yours too. That's not what Christianity is to me. You know, I have an actual Bible study group that I'm into, and we talk about that all the time, that you can't force it on people. It's just people come to God if they want to, you know, if God presents himself to people in different ways. I'm a big believer in that too. So I love what you're doing with that, and kind of getting people together with different views and opinions. It needs to happen more. And like even politically too, I talked about that during this last election. I'm not going to hate on you because you're voting one way and I'm voting the other way. And that's the problem. So many people do. You know, I was
Yeah,
having
right.
conversations with people from college, and that were voting a different way than me. And you know, you just look stupid if you're like, I'm not going to talk to you because you're voting that way. You're an idiot, you know. And you get like that. It just makes you look like unintelligent, you know. Just
Yep.
intelligent people understand and look at different perspectives. I'm a big believer in that. And not, it's just, I don't know, we can go into that whole thing at a different
A
time
whole
for
nother
sure.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So stay tuned for that one, listeners. Anyway, last question, what this show's all about. What exactly do people need to look for when organizing finances, and why choose Cason Parker as their financial advisor of choice?
They shouldn't, man. They shouldn't. You know what people should look for is someone that they can relate to and someone that relates to them. I think people should avoid fragmented, incomplete, or conflicting advice. I think that's the biggest thing that you can do. Like, you know, what you find on the internet, or what your coworker tells you, or what you saw Bill Ryman doing, or what you heard Cason Parker say, like, that's fragmented. It's incomplete, and it might be conflicting, right? And until you have like somebody who like you're willing to open up to, and who knows all your stuff, you're good, you're bad, you're ugly. You know, that is what I fundamentally believe that someone needs, is somebody they can relate to and open up to. And the more you're able to open up to someone, theoretically, the better advice they should be able to give you, right? And I am that person for some people. I'm absolutely not that person for other people. Thank God for that, right? Um, and I think we're not meant to go through life alone in lots of different avenues. I think your finances is something that you're not meant to go through alone either. So at a minimum, even if you're like that headstrong alpha type of woman or man, I think it's worth every now and then, you know, popping the hood open and getting a second opinion, right? And you may learn some things, or it may reinforce the fact that I got this,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So that's what I would say. And like I said, I think people are gravitated to me. I'm gravitated to them. If it works, it works. Cool. If not, there's a bunch of people like me out there. There's a bunch of people like you out there. We're gonna be all right. We can still be boys.
Exactly.
So that's what I would say about what people need to be doing, who they need to be chatting with.
Awesome, man. That case, and this has been awesome. Every did good. I mean, this has been such great information. We can go on for hours, obviously, and if I had listeners that listen for
Oh,
hours, you know, that'd be a whole
oh
room trip and so
yes.
on. But last thing, real quick, where can people connect with you? Because I'm sure if they got a lot of questions, they could reach out. Where can
Yeah,
they
yeah,
find you?
yeah. Probably the easiest thing, if they're connected with you, they can find me because I'm connected with you. That's one way. Alternatively, if you just Google Cason Parker, West Shore Financial Group, you'll find email and phone, or LinkedIn, or my Facebook business page. Um, you know, I'm we're all not hard to find, right? You can send somebody a DM, or you can, send them an email. So those are good ways to find me. I just want to give a huge shout out of gratitude to you, Bill. I love everything that you're doing.
Appreciate it, man.
More importantly, I love how you're doing it. Also, I want to shout out my family. A special shout out to my mom. Happy Mother's Day and belated birthday. I love you. My baby, Ashley, I love you. My whole family, business mentors, my pastor. It takes a damn village, brother. That is it. And everyone who's touched my life, whether you're my client, whether you're my friend, whether we're brothers from other mothers, whatever it looks like, whether I did you wrong and you hate me, I'm sorry. Please forgive me one day. Everybody's made me who I am. I just have so much gratitude, for everybody who's touched me and help me get on the path that I'm going, and hopefully we'll keep going, right? So appreciate you for the mic tonight, man. This was awesome.
Appreciate you, man. I really do. Thank you for the time and coming on. This was awesome. A lot of great info, like I said, and yeah, a topic that I definitely needed to touch on too. And you made a lot of good points. I'm sure there's still a lot of questions, so they definitely should reach out to you too, because like I said, this is a very, very broad topic, very important topic too. So a lot of respect for you for doing what you're doing too, man. So keep doing it. And everybody that is listening, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As you know, don't do any advertising. All I really ask for is that you share and also like the podcast on iTunes and write a comment. If you do 5-star it, also that's the only thing that's accepted is 5 stars, and also write a comment, just something like the best podcast in the world. That's all it takes. Anyways, thank you all for listening, and I will see you guys on the next one.
Cason Parker is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities LLC, PASS. Securities, products, and advisory services offered through PASS, member FINRA SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. PASS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. West Shore Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PASS or Guardian. The Living Balance Sheet LBS and LBS logos are service marks of Guardian. Copyright 2005 through 2021. Guardian, California Life License Number 0M01212, Arkansas Life License Number 169-35329. Information provided today is solely for entertainment purposes, is not to be taken as legal, financial, or tax advice.